Hello, and welcome to the Smile Revolution Show. We raise awareness to the healing power of a genuine smile. This is my 178th show since March 2020, but I had a radio show previous years ago, and I was doing these shows to help people smile in the pandemic, and then I went back to doing interviews again, which I was doing years before. And I'm a performer, writer, hat designer. I play little ukulele. And I have a solo one-person show called Hat Happenings, How Princess Wow Started a Revolution. Smile Revolution, obviously. And I've been nominated Style Queen in London from the Advantages of Age group. It's their first award ceremony. And there seems to be a breeze in here. I don't know, my sheet is like falling over. Anyway. Okay, so we raise awareness to the healing power of a genuine smile. Now, I know that we're living in very difficult times, and it's not about ignoring, all the hatred, the killings, the anti-Semitism, all the things going on. And in our country, I'm in America, New York, all of the mass shootings. I'm not ignoring it. It's just I'm working towards, with this movement that started 18 years ago, trying to shift thought to the good, to more love, more joy, smiles with love. The Dalai Lama said there's 18 kinds of smiles. And to combat the hate. So that's what it's about. And have an exciting show tonight with Merlin Bobb, who I'll tell you a little bit about in a few minutes. Let's see who's on. Thank you. Thanks. And I wanted to tell you about, whether you're watching live or on replay, have you ever heard, tomorrow is Halloween, have you ever heard of Trick or Treat for UNICEF? It's called Halloween for UNICEF. Now, it's been going on since 1950. It started in Philadelphia. It's a fundraiser for children, to help children worldwide. Now, did you know about this? I can't believe I only found out this week on PBS NewsHour. And since 1950, they used to walk around with orange boxes, and the kids would walk around with their costumes and go door to door, and they would ask for change. And they've raised $195 million worldwide since 1950. So I wanted to talk about it because since the pandemic, it's virtual. And I'm just going to post their website if you're interested in finding out more about it, because it's really interesting. And they have videos of the kids in different countries who they help. And let's see. Hold on one second. Okay, so they respond to crises. UNICEF has set up a global supply chain that can respond to emergencies anywhere in the world in less than 72 hours, deliver vaccines, ensure education. They help millions of out-of-school children continue their education through in-person schools and remote learning support. And so it's really, really amazing. And as I said, it's amazing that I didn't know about it till this week, but I'm glad now that I do, and wanted to share it with you all. So I have this smile poem that when I had my radio show, my listeners sent, and it's called Smile, ! A smile is something nice to see. It doesn't cost a cent. A smile is something all your own. It never can be spent. A smile is welcome anywhere. It does away with frowns. A smile is good for everyone to ease life's ups and downs. And then the people who sent it to me, they said, even though this plaque is 29 years old, well, it's older now, it's proof the smile will always be the smile. A smile is just as good for what ails you as mom's chicken soup. And then they said, your show is very interesting. Welcome. I hope you find a spot for this poem in your show. Love and smile, Sharon and Dennis. It was from 2007. And let's see, I think that's it. Okay, so Merlin Bobb is a renowned DJ, A&R exec. Well, he was an A&R executive, credited as a pioneer of house music. And he co-founded East West Records through Atlantic. He started A&R. He started at A&R Atlantic, but he was a DJ before. But you'll hear about it in the interview. And then Elektra Entertainment Group. He was VP of A&R, then executive VP, head of A&R. And he discovered Missy Elliot, Pharrell Williams, P. Diddy, Brandy, John Legend, to name a few. And so we're talking about it in the interview, so you'll see. So let me take this off UNICEF and bring him on. Hi, Merlin.
Hi, Mindy. How are you?
Good. It's good to see you. I just saw you just about a week ago, right?
Yes, in the city.
Yeah. So anyway, gosh, I really did a lot of research on you, and really didn't know much about the genre that you're in, the house music. And so it started in the 80s in Chicago, right?
Chicago and New York.
Okay.
There's a big dispute about whether it started in New York or Chicago first.
Okay.
But I like to think, because I was there at the time, that it started both around the same time, around 1979, 79 to 80. In New York, that particular genre was created from all the underground nightclubs that were very popular back then. And most of them were gay nightclubs at the time.
Right.
Because the whole nightclub scene started from the gay culture. So a lot of the best nightclubs back in the late 70s or middle 70s and 80s were underground, as we call them, nightclubs. So a lot of us younger guys and girls that used to go to these clubs would come home and be inspired by all the great music we heard from these nightclubs, and created this new genre of music called house music in New York and Chicago. But Chicago is definitely responsible for branding it as house music. In New York, we called it underground dance music.
Oh, I see.
But house music definitely flowed better, and it started to take on a more international. It was much easier internationally to have it represented at radio stations and nightclubs, etc. So the music itself is currently, if not the first or the second highest, but not, I won't say highest, I would say the first or second most popular genre of music worldwide.
Oh, it is currently?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Is it still really I mean, because I don't know, that you read online all these different things, but it said that it's not as popular as it was in the 90s, though. Is that right? Or do you don't agree with that?
No, not at all. Because every genre of music, I work in all genres of music. House music is what I grew up with, along with hip hop and R&B and pop music and rock in the 70s and 80s. So, and being from New York, it was a melting pot. I grew up in the city. So we had all these different clubs and music venues, etc. And it was a clear melting pot. So of genres of music that we all were into. So we started to create our own genre by putting all these together. And in the house music genre, it had in the 80s and 90s was very popular, but in New York, or in the States, I should say, hip hop became much more popular.
Right.
So house music kind of migrated to Europe and other parts in South Africa and other parts of the globe. And it's been, for the last 40 years, continually being nurtured, but it also has subgenres of it.
Right.
That are very popular. So the term house music might not be, as the purist says, it's not pure house music, but it's all these subgenres of it. So it's still very popular.
Okay. But it's right. Okay. Okay. So I found out that there's 11 genres of house music.
Yeah.
Acid, I have it all here. Acid, Chicago, electro, deep, funky, tropical, Latin, UK hard, tech, progressive, and Detroit. Now, which one are you into?
There's still more. There's Afro.
More? Okay.
There's soulful. And I kind of work in all those various genres, but primarily in the soulful and Afro and deep and just house genres. The genres are all subgenres of the house music brand,
right.
Which have been, there's actually more than that now. You know?
Okay, oh gosh,
but that's what keeps it popular, and it's popular from ages 14 to 70, because everyone has their favorite. When you have that many genres, subgenres, I should say, of one. It goes through eras. So it's been 40 years that this music has been, over 40 years that this music has been popular.
Okay. All right. Well, your career is fascinating, but you are called the house music pioneer. So you're one of the first people who
I was in the radio back then. I played as a mix show DJ. So I had a weekend show on the weekends, playing house music and dance music and underground dance music, and it became very popular. It was on WBLS, a radio station here in New York, and it was the #1 station in the country. So I became very popular in my brand of me as a DJ, and primarily it was something that I loved to do, something that was a stepping stone for me to be in the music business, because I wanted to be a music executive. I wanted to be an A&R person. I wanted to sign artists, develop them, and have them go on to win Grammys and to sell multi-platinum records and make people feel good, because music is just that. It's an inspirational part of everyone's life. And I felt good doing that, knowing that millions of people are hearing what I heard in my office, and it's making them feel something wonderful emotionally. So I always wanted to be an A&R, which is artist and repertoire.
Which is what you did, and you achieved all of that.
Yeah, for about 30 years.
I know, it's amazing. So you started at A&R, as A&R at Atlantic Records.
Right. But when I left the radio station, I was on the radio station. Like I said, that was my key to build my brand, because you don't go into the music business. The business has to want you, in other words. You don't just say, oh, I want to go work in the music business. The business has to want you. You have to build your brand, which I did. And before I knew it, I was getting requests to come in and interview for A&R jobs at various major record labels. And I took the job and was blessed for the next 25 plus years to do exactly what it is that I wanted to do in A&R. And I had to stop DJing because I was just too busy. I was the executive vice president of Atlantic Records and the vice president of Elektra Records, and also oversaw East West Records, which was a label overseas. So I was traveling 24/7. I lived on the East Coast and West Coast for many years.
Oh wow!
But you know, it was a wonderful, and it is still, because I consult now. I consult artists and
I
individual
know, that's
clients.
wonderful. Yeah, so you
Um,
have your own your own company now, consulting
yes,
artists and record and music public. Yeah, oh well, recording artists, producers, songwriters, and music labels.
right. So I consult, and
Mhm.
being that I'm consulting now, I said, well, I want to go back and do full circle and do the thing that got me here, because
Right.
it's one of the things I enjoy the most, is DJing.
Mhm.
So I just started maybe about 9 months ago, back in January, and it's been wonderful. And I also didn't just start because of my own reasons of just enjoying it, but I also wanted to do, being that I have the knowledge now after all these years, I wanted to come back to that genre of music and that culture and help move it forward, being that it is and still is this popular.
Mhm.
Um, because I was there at the forefront of it, like you said, a pioneer of it, and so many other good friends and producers and songwriters and artists were also. So I just, I'll do interviews like this. I must have done 10 interviews in the last 9 months.
Great.
Um, just expressing, the history, because as we know today more than ever, giving the facts is important, and the history of things are very important, because there are so many people who are involved that deserve the proper credit for a music genre that is listened to all over the world.
And so you discovered, let's see, Pharrell Williams, P. Diddy, Brandy, John Legend, Missy Elliot, just to name a few. I mean, that's amazing. So they can't. How did you discover them? Like, would they come to your office, or how does that work? Being an A&R person.
Yeah, they would. Well, in many different ways. When I was the head of A&R, so I'm responsible for building the roster of the record label. And let's say
Right.
it's Atlantic Records, which is owned by Warner Music Group. There's Atlantic, Warner Brothers Records, and Elektra Records. So I was at Atlantic at the time. And a lot of artists will come in various ways. Primarily, it's my relationships, because relationships in the industry are very important. It's not like now where you can do analytics and just look something up and say, "Oh, it's selling," or "It's
Right.
popular now." And then,
Popular on
we
Instagram.
didn't have any of that. It all came from instinct and gut and having a sixth sense for music. And like I said, where I grew up, and just instinctually, I just knew I could do it. Um, and I loved all various genres, and I worked in all different genres. Um, so, for instance, the deals I did with Pharrell Williams was I gave him his first production deal, helped him build his first recording studio,
Wow.
um, signed his first two artists. And I did the same thing with Kanye with John Legend and Missy Elliot. I can't say I discovered her because she was in a girls group prior, but
Okay.
I saw her potential as a rapper. She didn't really want to rap for a while. She took me a few months to convince her because she wanted to sing and to write. But eventually she she said, "I'll make one album for you."
Okay.
And in return, I saw her potential as not just an artist, but as a executive, and gave her her own label where she
Wow.
signed other artists to it and had success on that stem. So I wanted her not to just grow as an artist, but I wanted her to grow as a label owner, as a executive, and have her own artist under her own production label, because and I wanted to see her grow as a businesswoman too. So
That's really cool. That's really neat. And then you also, okay, so when did you leave being an A&R doing
I guess around it's about 10 over a decade now.
Oh, okay.
For the labels, at the labels, that
At
is.
the label. And then what did you wait? But you also you co-own Club Shelter. You do a lot of things, I know.
Yeah, well, in '91, because of my background in the house music scene and because I was in the music industry, I saw how popular it was, but also that it wasn't popular outside of the nightlife scene or the underground scene. And I grew up in the city, and I grew up in Murray Hill, in Manhattan, and had access to everything. When I say everything, to every nightclub, to every music venue, to all the shows, and so because of that, my partner Timmy Regisford and I wanted to open up a nightclub that reflect how we grew up and what we grew up in the nightlife, and really make it very private and underground. It was a private club, and it became extremely popular. And to this day, the brand is still relevant in the genre of music, of house and dance, etc. Not just domestically, but internationally too. Now we just have events. We don't have a nightclub anymore.
Okay.
The last nightclub we had was in 2017. But it's a brand, which is a very stable and secure brand and very respected brand in that genre of music. So,
so you just have private party, it says a monthly mix. I mean, you do like events.
Yeah, we do events, and we have a record label, and we put out music product, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
So it's a standing, brand that's been around for over 30 years now.
Okay, now what about the Boiler Room? It says that it's very prestigious. They asked you to do a set there.
Well, the Boiler Room is like every DJ's
dream
to do the Boiler Room, and I always wanted to do it. I didn't. It's been after 20 years of not DJing, they asked me to do it, and a very good friend of mine asked me to do it with him, Kerry Chandler, and yeah, it was a great experience. I've always wanted to do it, and it came through, and that's what got me back to DJing again, because I did that.
I see.
Like, wait a minute, I have time now. I'm not an
executive. You're
running
not
to the office every day and
right.
traveling like crazy, and so I just got back into it.
Okay. Now, what did you do? What did you do in the pandemic? Were you working online, like with consulting, or?
Yeah, I could be anywhere and do what I do.
Right.
I was working from home before the pandemic, so.
I see.
Not a big change. Yeah, so when you're a consultant, you could be anywhere. So that didn't make a big change. Actually, what it did do is made me enjoy my home lifestyle, which I haven't had an opportunity to do since I was 10 years old. I haven't been home this much, and I love it. So.
Right. Now, where are you still based in the city?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And okay. Let me just see. Now, explain to people who don't know about house music. It's basically, I read, it's a steady pulse, 4x4 time signature played around 120 beats per minute. And is it mostly just no words? It's mostly just electronic, right? Or is it?
No. It's that's why there's so many various genres of it, because it can be anywhere from 115 to 135 beats per minute. So it depends on which subgenre of house you're talking about.
Okay.
But primarily it's dance music. It's music that makes you dance. No differently than when rock and roll first came around, kids were all dancing to it,
Right.
It morphed into something else towards the end of rock and roll in the early 2000s, but it's primarily music that makes you move and dance, and it stems from disco.
Right. It came from disco and what? And
R&B.
And R&B. Okay.
Is really what house came from.
Okay.
And it was, like I said, all the young people that were in those clubs listening to. That's what we danced to. Mostly a lot of disco, but more soulful disco, like from the Philly sound, etc. Not the commercial disco. And R&B music and the various subgenres of R&B. And that collaboration is what the younger people that were going to those clubs those days, back in the early 80s, would go, the writers and producers and so on would go back and create their own sound. And that became house music.
And it came from mostly from the black people, right?
Yeah, it was Black and Latina.
Right.
Yeah, it was Black and Latina, and because, like I said, they were mostly underground dance clubs, which were Black, gay, Latina, and it was like a mix of like a real New York, scene, and it was mostly in these clubs where people in the fashion business and the music business and the art business, et cetera, art industry.
Okay.
So it was a real scene, and as you can see today, it still is. It's people who primarily, even though it's worldwide now, but it's a genre that was truly fashioned after the culture of art.
Yeah, that's really neat. So I have a question about, so consulting now. How do people, can any musician come to you and get consultation, or you just take certain people? How does that work?
No, a lot of the people that I consult with now come through their attorneys or their managers, etc. That's why I don't have anything online or, because
I see. Yeah, you can't just any musician in the world.
I have hundreds of people a day asking me.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just asking. I was just curious.
Yeah. They primarily come through lawyers and word of mouth, or if I even hear something or from someone, I'm always listening.
And it could be any genre, or are you mostly focused in certain areas?
It's primarily in hip hop. It's primarily in pop music and primarily in R&B music.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so you're always open to listening to something, though, right?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, that's good. And then let's see what else. Okay. So basically, but you never became a musician, right? Did you grow up ever playing anything? It was just always you just loved to dance and going to the club.
My instruments are my turntables.
Okay. But you never, you just always loved music, right? And dancing. Right.
I never aspired to be an artist. Mm-hmm. Or a producer, etc. Producing I did a little bit of, and remixing for many years, and I did engineer work. I mixed all the albums while I was there that came out on Atlantic for many years. But it's similar to, you can have a basketball coach who takes his team to the championship and wins championships, but he never played basketball.
Right.
Or he never was a basketball star. He didn't know how to shoot. He wasn't a great shooter, but he knows how. He has a sixth sense and an instinct, or she, how to hear and extend and not just hear, but in this case, see real talent, and how to nurture that talent and how to combine it with other talent. So it's a similar scenario where, you don't necessarily have to be a musician to be a great A&R person. Even though there are great A&R persons, the first real A&R person was Quincy Jones.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's interesting. But he was always a musician too. Like he started out as a musician, but he became an A&R. Oh, okay. Oh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that you got a certificate by the Recording Academy.
I'm a voting member for
the Grammys.
Umpteen years. I've been a voting member for the Grammys, and then I decided not too long ago to let go of my voting, because I really would like to see a lot more younger voters, because there's only a certain amount at a time that you can have, and I've been on it for over 2 decades or more, maybe 3 now.
Oh, okay.
So I'd like to see them replace me with other, up and coming songwriters, producers, artists, executives, because it needs to be represented by the now culture of music that is happening. So even though I'm still in it, I still think it's important to hand that down, because if it wasn't for someone handing it down to me, I wouldn't have had it for all that.
Right. Right. Mm-hmm. But you're still doing it currently, but you're asking them to replace you. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, my friend Richard Barone, he's on the Grammy. He's on
okay.
Yeah. And anyway, is there anything else? Let's see. I don't know if I think I brought up everything that I read about you. And so how do people right now with your DJing, how do people find you? I guess if they wanted to come, like go to Club Shelter, but that's a private club, right? Or is it open to the public?
Well, no, they could just go on my IG and they'll see everything that I'm doing primarily. It's definitely a good place to brand yourself, continue to brand yourself. But, I'm doing it primarily for fun, and then I'll do, things like this that I think are important to continue to keep the word on, keep the history of house music and just dance music in general at the forefront of the industry, where it belongs, because it's one of the few genres that has lasted over 40 years. We just celebrated hip hop's 50 years, which is,
that's amazing. I know. Yeah, that's really cool.
I grew up with hip hop and signed several popular hip hop artists, so it's music that's important to me also. And that history is being told constantly, which is great. So I just wanted to be a part of the true history of what house music is and where it came from. And since I'm a quote unquote pioneer of it,
that's what they say, right?
I think it's important for me to put my 2 cents in ever so often,
Right. Yeah, that's great. So just follow you basically on Instagram to see what you're doing. And if anybody wanted to come, if who's in the city, they can come hear you.
City, Brooklyn. Brooklyn is primarily where everything happens now. Brooklyn is the new Manhattan.
No, you're right. Yeah, that's true. So you're doing more things in Brooklyn, like in Williamsburg or?
Yeah, and New Jersey, actually. Believe it or not, when house music first started, it was extremely popular, and it evolved from New York, Chicago, New Jersey, and Baltimore.
That's where I'm from.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, so it was popular there too. That's interesting.
It's still popular there. Yeah.
Okay. I guess in downtown Baltimore. Oh, that's
so, yeah, that's something that is a lot of people don't know. Like I was just saying, like you said, a lot of people don't know that Baltimore had a lot to do with the early days, as well as New Jersey, definitely.
Where in New Jersey?
And Detroit, excuse me.
Oh, that's right, Detroit, of course. Yeah, Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. And what about in the West Coast? Is it still happening out there? Or?
Yes, very popular in the West Coast too. Depending on which subgenre of house you're talking about, but it's still popular there. But yeah, it all started in the Midwest and the East.
Okay, and it's still international. How about in London? It's probably popular there, right?
It's London. We have to give credit to keeping it alive, actually, for the last 3 decades.
Okay.
When hip hop became more popular, because dance music, quote unquote house music, and hip hop were like one in one. They were both very popular. And then when they both started having more commercial success, hip hop, because it was during the era of a lot of young people, teens that grew up with it, it evolved into this mega genre and kind of overshadowed house music. So house music kind of evolved in Europe over the last 2 or 3 decades. And it's pretty much come full circle and becoming much more popular here in the States again. But London was very, very influential in the beginning and during the duration of house music as a genre.
Oh, that's great. Well, I love London.
Yeah, me too.
I have a lot of friends there, and it's just there's a different vibe than New York. It's right. You know what I'm saying? London just has its own vibe and very inclusive place, and it's just so creative. And
it's very popular in London and Paris and Amsterdam. Very, very popular in Amsterdam. In Germany, extremely popular.
Oh,
extremely. All over Europe and South America also. In Brazil, very popular.
That's really the house music and hip hop, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, that's great. And do you travel internationally sometimes to do? Well, I don't know if you would do. Well, maybe you would now with after the pandemic.
Yeah, I did for many years. That's how when I was DJing early on, when I was in college and I was building my brand, I DJed all through Europe and Japan mostly. It's very, very, very popular in Japan.
Oh.
And so I was in Japan 3 times a year.
Wow.
DJing or more. And I'm supposed to go now, actually, in January or February. I'm going to play. I haven't been there in over a decade. So
in Japan, that's really neat.
Mm-hmm.
That's a long plane ride.
Yeah, yeah.
I know. I guess that doesn't bother you.
Nah.
Okay. Well, you're so used to traveling. I don't know if I could do 20-hour plane ride.
Oh, it's only 13.
It's only 13. Oh, that's nothing. Africa. I know Africa is really far.
Yes.
So I don't know. Okay, 13's not terrible. Okay. Well, anyway, is there anything else that you want to tell my audience before we?
No, just look for me on IG and support the genre. Look into the genre, research it. I'm sure if you go into it a little further, you'll hear so many songs that you're like, wow, I didn't realize that was house music. There's so many big songs and records and
like what? Can you just name a couple, like a few that you're thinking of that I wouldn't even know?
Don't put me on the spot because that's the worst thing to do with a music person because a million things go to your head and you can't remember one.
Okay, that's okay. Right. Anyway,
there's a group called 10 City and they have a song called "That's the Way Love Is." And if you heard it,
I know that song. Yeah, I know you were talking about.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's just one of tens of thousands of hit records, house records that were hit records, big hit records.
Right.
So yes, it's a genre where most people don't realize they're dancing to and love that house music song, but it actually is.
Oh, that's neat. Oh, that's really cool. Okay, we can also look it up. You can go. I can look that up on Google or something. And
Google popular house songs through.
Right, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah,
my audience can too. I think that would be fun. So anyway, well, thank you, Merlin, and also your name, Merlin Bobb. Is that your real name?
Yes. My mother named me on her way to having me.
Yeah, because it's such a great hospital. Okay. Such a real name. Merlin Bobb
actually, she named me after Merlin Olsen, who was a football star. And she saw his name in the paper while she was in the cab going to the hospital and said, "That's it."
That's amazing.
Yeah. And my father's last name is Bob. He's from Trinidad. So that's a West Indian last name.
No, but it sounds kind of like a stage name, Merlin Bobb.
She knew. She knew. She was my best friend. So she looked out for me before I even got here. So she knew. So most everyone thinks I made it up, but no, that's my name.
Well, that's why I was wondering too. I was like, I had to ask you about that. Okay, well, great. Well, it's a great name, And it's really been interesting to learn more about you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All the things you're up to. It's wonderful.
And thank you for having me on your platform. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. It's great to see you. And I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Ciao.
Okay, bye, Merlin. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. I hope you all enjoyed that, whoever's watching live and on replay. And fascinating guy. So next week, back to Tuesday nights, because it's Halloween tomorrow, so that's what I did tonight. Terry Tall, who was Bob Dylan's first manager, and really fascinating a story, her life. But she was like the center of the folk scene in the 60s and late 50s, and you'll hear all about it next week. So next Tuesday, November 7th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Hope you can join me live or on replay. And I think that's it. Wait, who wants to say goodbye? Here's all my little friends. They're all watching. They're all like so happy I'm on tonight. I have a whole bunch of people here, little animals here. Richard Brown actually gave me him years ago, him or her, my little bear. And so hope you're having a good day, night, whenever you're watching this. I know we're having very challenging times, but I hope you're able to smile and focus on the good too. And I love you all, and I will see you next week. And I'm going to sign off with my credits. Let's see if I can find them. Yeah, I have. Okay, here we go. Bye. It's called the Smile Revolution that comes, goes round and back to you. So smile, 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 a simple smile will do. Smile, 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 it comes back to you. Bye. If you're still on.